Welcome to this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast, where we look forward to shaving every day. All right, you can tell that it is a beautiful, warm summer night here in South Carolina, in the studio that happens to be like right next to the pond, because you can hear the frogs serenading in the background. So here you go. Welcome to episode 98 of the podcast. My name is Rick DeWeese. I'll be your host this week. This week we've got a letter, we've got a meetup announcement, a shave of the day. Your humble host was a guest on someone else's podcast. I'll tell you all about it. Doing some work in the yard and what I had to say about that. Another shave of the day. What do you do when you break a shoelace? And more importantly, what do you do when you break a shoelace that's 9 foot long? Another shave of the day, some Kickstarter ramblings. I do spend a bit of time on Kickstarter, and I've just noticed some things. Today's shave of the day, or Wednesday's shave of the day, was a little late just because, I was tired. And finally, just something that happened over the weekend that I noticed that kind of set me off. It happens, right? It was one of those who decides kind of things, and unfortunately, I'm not real pleased with who decided on this one. But I'll tell you all about it. Anyhow, episode 98, we're getting close. I figure once we hit 104, that will be 2 years. 52 weekly episodes a year. So for me, that's the big one. Some people say 100 is. I'm looking for 104. That's the one I'm looking for. So anyhow, there you go. And let's get on with this thing. I got an email from Omar. Hey, Rick. I'm writing to you because I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for saving me from boredom. What I mean is that I work in a post office terminal in Sweden, loading trucks with packages. Helping all wet shavers getting their packages on time and also other people get their packages on time as well. I work by myself most of the time, and it gets boring. I'm a student, and I work during school and during the summer. I used to listen to music, but got bored listening to the same music all the time, and I'm too lazy to find new music. Your podcast helped me a lot. The time flies by. Thank you for making my life a little bit easier. I would like to ask you 2 questions. Have you ever tried the Taconic shaving soap? I have the bay rum and eucalyptus and mint. The scents are amazing, but I'm having trouble lathering them. I don't usually have trouble with lathering soap, so I would love some tips. Have you ever tried the Shave Den TSD shaving soap? I received a gift from a friend for my birthday. It was 1 full puck, 1 sample, and 1 bottle of M-Balm menthol additive. The M-Balm is just amazing. Everyone that likes menthol a little or a lot should have it. Also, the soaps are great too. I got an iced lemongrass, amazing scent and performance. But hey, the store has an aftershave milk. I've read very good reviews on it, so I wanted to try it. But shipping is expensive to Sweden. If you could make a review of it on your podcast, I'd be greatly appreciated. I just want to know if it's worth the shipping cost. Thanks in advance, Omar. Okay, first off, Omar, you sent me an email last week. I failed to read it on the air. I apologize. I don't know why I failed to. It's just an oversight. Okay, so I have never tried the Taconic shaving soaps. And as far as lathering tips, I don't know what to tell you. I need more description as to what kind of problems you're having. Now, there are certain problems that I have seen in the past that I have experienced or talked to my friends about, and those are experiences with not being able to load up enough of the soap on the brush, so that you end up getting kind of a thin lather, even if you get the water right, and blooming sometimes helps that. Sometimes there have been problems with the soap being too dry and needing some more water. That's been an issue from time to time. But if you want, go to Brush and Blade on Twitter and send me a photo of what you're experiencing, and we'll work through it. I can do a lot with pictures. Pictures help greatly. Also, if you send it to me, there's a bunch of people following me, so we can help them as well. So it's a win for everybody. But if you're still having problems, try that and go to Twitter and Brush and Blade, or find me on Facebook, and you can send me pictures that way too. But I need more information. I have not used the soap. Don't know what kind of problems you're running into. So. All right, as far as the shaved-in soap, no, I've never tried any of the shaved-in products. I'm interested in the M-Balm, the menthol balm. It looks like menthol, like a liquid menthol additive that would be very interesting, especially since here lately I've been kind of getting on a menthol kick, enjoying it greatly during the summer. So, don't have any experience. One of the guys you could talk to is go over to the Shaved In and ask Dark Bulb. He hangs out over there, and he can provide good advice. I would trust him. But anyhow, that's all I can say. Thank you very much, Omar, for the letter. Stay safe, loading packages up there in Sweden. I also got a message from Ralph over at Knockout Shave. There is a wet shave meetup that's being planned October 17th in Huntsville, Alabama. So if you want to get any more information about this meetup in Huntsville, they do have a Facebook group called Dirty South Shavers, and that's where you can go to find more info. So Ralph at Knockout Shave asked me if I could throw it on the podcast and invite anybody that wants to come to the Dirty South Shavers meetup there in Huntsville, Alabama on the 17th of October. Go check it out and see if you can make it. Meetups are a lot of fun. I need to get one here closer to me because I looked. Huntsville's about 5.5 hours away. That's a road trip. That's a big road trip. Although it does go through Pittsburgh, Tennessee. I could go get there through Pittsburgh, and that's where the Lodge Cast Iron Outlet Store and Factory are. And that's always fun. I enjoy going there because, well, they always have cast iron stuff. And boy, I do love my cast iron. But I don't know. It's a bit of a haul. But if you're in that area, if you're in the Huntsville, Alabama area, within say 3 or 4 hours, maybe, it might be a nice way to go and meet some fellow wet shavers. And whenever you can do that, it's always a good time. Well, today's shave of the day was, kind of easy. It wasn't a real difficult one, wasn't real involved. Went with LPV. Now, when I first got LPV, I was like, okay. I don't know. It's not for me. It's just, everybody's jumping up and down going, yeah, this is the greatest thing in the world. And I was like, well, I don't know. Maybe it's me, but no. The interesting thing that has occurred is that I have found it to be, better and nicer in smell as I use it, as I get more used to it, which is interesting. I mean, I am not one to follow the masses. I'm sorry. If everybody's jumping up and down and saying this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and I try it, and for me it's not, I'm going to say it. And the thing that's funny is, way back when, people jump up and down and say, yeah, this is great, and I'd say it's not for me. People got mad. And, it kind of goes along with that, mob mentality kind of thing. It's like, really? You're mad because I don't like the smell of this soap. I'm bringing you down somehow because I say, it's not for me. It's just curious. But it really makes you wonder when you look around and see the world as it exists right now for us and things going crazy, and you wonder, how the heck is this mob mentality even created? Well, when you get mad just because somebody doesn't agree with you about something as simple as a shaving soap, yeah, part of the problem might be somewhere in there. How does that happen? How does it get to a point where if somebody doesn't agree, you end up with, well, I don't know, an upset stomach? Anyhow, so back to the shave of the day. So I whipped out the LPV and bowl lathered some LPV with the Police-On brush and only did a 2-pass shave. I wanted to see, just socially acceptable. And the only thing that's an issue is really underneath my my neck, on the underside of my chin and stuff. It's not perfect, but that's okay because I wasn't going for perfect this morning. I was going for, getting through it relatively quick because I had to leave for work early to go and do something. It happens. It's called life. Anyhow, so LPV use the Mercure Bakelite again with the Gillette silver blue blade in it. And, enjoyed that. It's just, it's a nice blade. It's so, smooth and comfortable and just, the feather's just sharp as snot. And, okay, yeah, it's sharp and it does a great job. But it's almost like you have to be cautious with it because just it's to me in my head, it makes sense from an analogous point of view to describe a feather as a sharpened straight razor and the Gillette Silver Blue as a double-edged safety razor. One, if you just move in the wrong direction, twitch, whatever, not pay 100% attention, it will cut you, okay? On the other hand, the other one, it's like, okay, it's a blade. It's sharp. It does a great job. But there's not quite as much, intensity in focus. That's the best way to put it. So I use that, and of course, Silver Blue does a great job. It's, I really enjoy those. They're smooth. They're nice. They last, for me, they last about a week. When you think about it, the fact that just a single piece of steel sharpened like that as a razor blade will last a week is, you want to talk about inexpensive. Wow. And that's just being comfortable. If you don't mind a little pulling and stuff, you make these things last a month if you want to, just because. Now, will it give you a close shave? Yeah, you may have to go over a few times. Will it be comfortable? That's the question. Because, with the tugging and everything else, it can be just a little bit uncomfortable. But if you're okay with that, yeah, you can make a blade last a month, which means a pack of blades, 2 packs of blades for about $5. It's probably less than that. But 2 packs of blades could last, a year. If you do it that way. I mean, you shave for pennies. But I digress. Anyhow, the smell of the LPV was nice. Chris over there at Katie's Bubbles, it's an excellent formula. I really do enjoy them. And they all of the soaps that I've only tried 2, but I was going to say all of the soaps, but again, you can't really do that with just 2. The soaps that I have tried have been fabulous in scent. No shortage of scent profile there. It's really been nice. So, Finished it all up once it was all said and done with, well, I'm kind of on this menthol kick. I don't know why, I just am. And I happen to have a sample bottle from Phoenix back when they were How to Grow a Mustache, and it was Arctic Bay Rum, which is Bay Rum aftershave with menthol in it. Yeah, that was nice. Now, granted, it's just a little sample, but that was nice. I enjoyed it. Of course, as soon as I put it on, the wife comes walking in. You've been playing in the rum again. It clears out my nose. I can't stand it. It's like, yeah, go away. Love her to death, but golly. Oh, well. It is what it is. Anyhow, nice cooling effect. And, just kind of sets off the warm summer morning that we're having here at, almost 80 degrees at 7 o'clock in the morning. Sets it off nicely and makes it, rather pleasant. It's kind of refreshing, kind of invigorating. And I enjoy that. It'll be interesting because in my head I'm thinking, okay, so menthol's in the summer, and then I've got a couple of soaps that are based on cinnamon. And we'll try, one of them is an Arabian spice, and the other one is a Canadian homage to maple syrup and cinnamon and, those kind of things. And they both have cinnamon in it. And if I remember correctly, I used them in the wrong season as well. I used them in the summertime, when I first tried them, because that's when I bought them, I think, or at least the springtime, and went, I don't know if I like this. So now I'm having an epiphany, maybe, that these more seasonal soaps, if you will, or these more diverse soaps, are in fact seasonal and can be enjoyed seasonally and are appropriate, at least for me. So, an interesting thing, it's like, been doing this a while and still kind of learning myself. It's an ongoing experience. That's what life is. You live it, you learn about yourself, you learn about others, and you keep going on. So, all good stuff. So another great way to start the day. Cool, refreshed. Looking forward to it. Good time. So your humble podcast host was actually a guest on another podcast. First time I can't say it's the first time I've done that. It's how about this? Your humble host was a guest on a non-shave-related podcast. Ha! So, apparently somebody thinks I have expertise in an area other than, wet shaving, which is probably a good thing because my expertise when it comes to wet shaving is just a tad limited. In other words, I am by no means an expert. I am an enthusiastic hobbyist. Expert? No, I don't think so. If I was an expert, I wouldn't cut myself all the time. I wouldn't give myself razor burn. I wouldn't slap on Ogallala and start screaming, ah! My wife got a kick out of that the other day. I did that. I think it was over the weekend. I shaved and it was I had been outside and I'd scraped up and everything, and between the razor and everything else, I had a little bit of irritation. And I said, well, what the heck? And I slapped on some Ogallala without thinking about it, and oh my gosh, lit my face up. Anyhow, back to the story. Okay, so as I have alluded to on multiple occasions, I have a passion, I guess, an affinity for Boy Scouts, and I am also an amateur radio operator, and so I was on a podcast. I was a guest on a podcast that's going out this week, and it should be out by the time you hear this. And the podcast is called Photime, Fotime, Photime, and it's K4CDN, Kale, who happens to be a podcaster and doing this podcast from just up the road. Anyhow, we both happen to live in the upstate of South Carolina. You know, in our opinion, the greatest place on earth, of course. Of course, we don't want to tell anybody because then everybody will move in and ruin it. But anyhow, I had been talking to Kale for a good long time about ham radio and Boy Scouts, and what we do at summer camp, and what we do at camporees, and jamboree on the air, and working with kids, and radio merit badge, and electricity merit badge, and just, you know, all those nuances and things and stuff like that. Well, you know, it's taken a while, and like I said, we've been talking back and forth, and he was quite busy when it first came out, and you know, he had a lineup of guests, and he always has some really exciting guests. And so if you're into amateur radio, it's a good podcast to listen to, and I'll put some links to it in the show notes. And anyhow, he had asked me, and we finally got things squared away and our times kind of organized so that we could do this. And well, he did an interview, and he did a good job interviewing. And you know, I understand that that this is a podcast that is more or less centered around wet shaving. You know, granted, I take it in some different directions sometimes, but you know, that's just me, I guess. But it's a podcast about amateur radio and about Boy Scouts. And so it's a lot of fun to do, and it's a lot of fun to talk about, you know, other things. I talk a lot about wet shaving. It's just kind of one of the things I do, and you know, every now and then I get an opportunity to go and talk about something else, and well, that's fun as well. Yeah, like I told him, you know, he asked me, there's multiple modes in ham radio, you know, CW, which is Morse code, and digital and things like that. And like I tell him, no, I just like to talk. Who could have thought that, you know, with a podcast? No, it's just one of those things. But anyhow, it was a lot of fun to do, and you know, if you're into amateur radio or just into working with kids, you know, just go check it out. It's good stuff, and I was real happy to be on Photime. It's he did a great job interviewing, and I enjoy it. What is this guy doing? Wow. You know, if you're going to drive a BMW, a 7 Series BMW, you should at least try to pay enough attention that you keep it in the lines of the road there instead of drifting over into traffic. That's a good way to make short work of a BMW 7 Series. And with insurance the way it is, they would probably put you back in a 3 Series and then argue, well, it's a BMW after all. Goodness. Oh, it does make you wonder sometimes. Maybe somebody else didn't get some sleep last night. One of those things. Anyhow, check out Photime. Great podcast. Had a lot of fun doing it. And if you listen to it, hopefully you'll enjoy it too. Well, it's a beautiful Monday morning, 75 degrees, which is perfect for this time of year. Actually very pleasant. Unfortunately, it's going to get hot. As is the habit, well, in summer, it gets a tad warm. And in fact, it did this weekend. It got way warm. So, of course, Saturday, you know, because I'm, well, that way, I decided that, well, it's a nice warm day. Let's go burn some brush. Holy cow. No, it had been raining and things were nice and damp, and yeah, it was hot, but I thought it was the perfect time to burn some brush that had been collecting. And of course, it had been collecting for a while, and the weeds had grown up in it, and so just trying to clean that mess up was yeah, that was the task for the day. And so I spent probably about 6 hours out in the heat and humidity, doing what some people would consider, well, hard labor. And yeah. So the biggest thing, of course, whenever you're doing something like that is hydrate. Drink plenty of water. And that was the message for the day, and so we did. But it was me and my son. We worked out there and burned up some brush and got things back almost normal. We're probably, I would say, we're probably about half done. But so then once we got the brush done and most of the vines that were growing up in there, got those cleared out and burned up and everything, then we went over it with the lawnmower. Now, I happen to have two lawnmowers. I have one good mower that I use for the good lawn, if you will, and then one lawnmower that is the old beat-up, decrepit mower for the, what we like to call the bank, which is going down toward the pond. And there's a lot of roots and rocks and everything else in the bank, and so if you're going to beat up a mower, you don't want to beat up the new one. You want to beat up the old one. Well, the old one, one of its wheels is about to fall off, and its blade is, I don't think there's a sharp section anywhere on the thing. Looks like some of those straight razors that you can buy at the flea market, that are just beat up and bruised, and half the blade is actually missing, and they still want $50 for it. But anyhow, so I'm mowing along and I'm going over, and of course every time it hits a rock it stalls because it's got no compression left in it anymore. It's just completely worn out, and so I'm going along and I realize that it is like stopping and stalling and hitting everything. I flip the thing over, and lo and behold, one half of the blade is bent downwards at a 90-degree angle. Yeah, that blade's toast. Oh well, time to get a new blade for it, and we'll keep taking the old lawnmower and beating it up. But it is kind of interesting, when you've got bumps and rocks and roots and everything else that you're doing. I mean, this thing had stalled going over an anthill, running into a chunk of dirt. I mean, it was just bad. It got me to kind of thinking of razors and razor blades and the fact that, a face is not a smooth surface, typically. In the best of cases, there might be some small sections that are smooth, but it is interesting when you think about the fact that you really need a good blade and razor combination in order to not do what my lawnmower was doing and dig into every little thing. So it is rather curious. So it goes without saying that with all of the blade manufacturing companies and brands and processes and everything else that are out there, that you go out and find a blade that suits you. Now, some people like certain blades that others they don't work for them, and some people find a blade that somebody has said it doesn't work at all, and it works great for them. Blades are very subjective. Blades are, it depends on the blade. You got to understand, too, like with vintage razors, no two are really alike. They're close, they're similar, but they're not the same. There is enough difference within, just the processing age, the way they've been handled, if they've been bent, beat, whatever, it's, even if they've been well taken care of, it's quite possible that two razors that were made side by side don't react quite the same. And then, of course, there's, the technique of the person handling the razor, the skill, the expertise, if you will, Have they been doing it a long time, or is it something that's just been, starting out? So it all runs into a load of variables, and so that's why I've always said you need to try, because, especially for you guys that are out there just starting out, some of us have been doing this a while and have a pretty good understanding of what works, what doesn't, and Yeah, I can take a blade that for me is not a good blade and put it in a razor. I can get a decent shave out of it. It's not necessarily the most comfortable thing, but I can get a decent shave out of it. But when I started, that wasn't necessarily the case, especially if I was, again, just starting out, putting a little bit too much pressure on things, and next thing you know, you've got razor burn and irritation and all that. And, yeah, so keep in mind that it is all subjective, and it's important to hydrate. It's important to hydrate when you're outside working. It's important to hydrate under normal conditions because that's what keeps, one of the things that keeps your skin supple, flexible, and not dried out. So, you got to take care of yourself. So, anyhow, that's kind of what we did this weekend, and it wasn't a bad thing. In fact, it was kind of fun. So the shave of the day, Monday morning as we drive into work, was some Katie's Bubbles made by by Mr. Cullen, Chris Cullen extraordinaire, made up the wonderful scent, a Jardin d'Or, the Golden Garden, and it is a honeysuckle and gardenia and it's just fabulous smelling stuff. Anyhow, threw that in the old salsa bowl with my Samog 1305 brush and lathered it up and didn't even add any extra water. It's just the water that was in the brush. Now I did pre-soak or bloom the soap, and so it was a little bit more moist. There was a little bit more moisture involved, and so didn't feel like I had to add any extra water. And it proved me right. It worked out well. It gave me a nice thick lather, and some people like their lather a little bit, thinner. But I'm getting to the point where I kind of enjoy the thicker lathers. For me, it's just a bit more glide, and I enjoy that. So went ahead and did that. Grabbed my straight razor, grabbed my Bell brand straight razor, and of course that doggone edge, the square cut edge, caught me just a little bit, and just a little scrape in the cheek. Nothing too bad, but it is one of those things. Every time I pick the sucker up, I think, okay, I got to be careful with this because it will get me, and that's when it doesn't. And then I'll pick it up and not think a thing of it. Just, okay, great. I'll grab a straight razor. We'll have a shave. And that's when it gets me. It's when I'm just taking it for granted and not thinking about it that it gets me. So there is a distinct need, at least on my part, to focus a little bit more because apparently I'm challenged in that area. Hey, it's Monday morning. Yeah, that's the excuse. Anyhow, it was a nice shave. I really enjoy, like I said, the smoothness that I get with a straight razor. It's much closer than I get even with a double edge, unless of course I go with like 4 passes. If I go with 4 passes and buff and do all this, I can get it as close as a straight. But it's to a certain extent, it's kind of like the history of razors. It's a straight razor is phenomenally good at doing what it does. It really is. And, then they sold the double-edged and single-edged razors based on the idea of convenience. Well, you don't have time, but it doesn't give as good a shave. And then, of course, you take the cartridge razors, and again, it's convenience. Oh, well, you don't have to touch the blades, and, you're not going to get yourself cut, and blah, 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 and, it's fast. You just throw it away, no big deal. But, of course, it doesn't give as good a shave. But they don't tell you that part because, well, they're all about, making money. That's kind of what makes the world go round, and they're real good at it. Anyhow, the straight razor does give an absolutely exquisite shave. It really does. It's just a matter of getting to the point where,
And maybe I need to just, buy razors that have rounded edges so that I don't do that to myself. I don't know. It's one of those things. Anyhow, finished up with some clean vetiver, some fine aftershave, and off we go into the wild blue yonder. What could possibly go wrong?
So another thing that happened at summer camp that I haven't really said anything about is I wore my boots. I wore my my leather boots up there and wore them for the whole week in the heat and humidity and everything else. And there were a couple of days. There was one day I took the boots off and my socks were stained from the leather, the dye in the leather. It had gotten so moist in my boots that I'd actually stained my socks. So that was unique, and it was purely from humidity. I mean, it wasn't anything else. Just walking around. Although I did walk about about 4 miles every single day in those boots. So it was a lot of walking, a lot of activity. Boots held up very, very nicely. Did a great job, with one exception. I broke a lace. And I broke a lace in a place that I really didn't think that a lace should break, but it did. And I realized that I didn't have any replacement laces for those boots with me. So I did the next best thing. I tied a surgeon's knot in the lace and continued to go. Now another. If you don't know what a surgeon's knot is, go look it up, because it's basically a very easy to tie self-tightening knot that's good for joining things like laces or fishing line or things like that. And it really makes a difference. It can make a situation that is, difficult easy. So tied a surgeon knot in the lace and centered that up in the boot and kept on going and worked well. So of course, when I got home, I then proceeded to order some more laces. Now I ordered two kinds. I ordered leather laces, and I also ordered synthetics, basically nylon laces, just to play around with them and see how they perform. I've got a set of leather laces in there now. Now, the laces that came with the boot were leather. These laces are from a different company, and they seem to be just a tad larger in profile. And so they may be more durable. They may just been a thin spot or something like that. We'll see. Now, it's interesting that, when I was kind of researching laces, there are a lot of different kinds of laces. There's Kevlar. There's even one company that makes laces out of what looks like braided aircraft steel. And they advertise that it won't burn and it won't break. You can't cut it with a knife. You can't chop it with a chainsaw. And it's, I'm looking at that and going, okay, that's nice and all, but, I don't know if I want steel on my boots. And, not like that. But, they are basically bulletproof. So, we're going to try, both the laces over time and see how it goes. But the boots cleaned up beautifully when I got back home and, put some, Obenoffs on them and, cleaned them up, dried them out, and they're ready to go and still just as comfortable. Now, it was interesting the first day when I walked about 4 miles in them, my feet were a little sore. But every day after that, it almost seemed like that was finally the break-in that those boots needed. So, all good stuff, and they're still hanging tough and doing a great job for me. So, just thought I'd mention that because when you get a pair of boots, now these boots are, fairly high, but the laces that I have to have for these things are 9 feet long. The laces for these boots are 108 inches, 9 feet long. That's a heck of a boot lace. And, when it's made out of leather, that was a fairly lengthy cow. But anyhow, something to keep in mind if you have hiking boots that you put through abuse, like I have always done with my boots. Have a couple extra pairs of laces laying around and traveling with you, maybe one in the truck or something, just in case.
All right. Well, the shave of the day was rushed. Well, I ended up doing a 3-pass shave, but it was just a bit rushed. I was running a little bit late. Didn't get to bed last night for some reason till way early in the morning. I don't understand just I usually don't have insomnia or anything, and it's just for some reason I stayed up. It's just I don't know what happened. Anyhow, so this morning, groggy, half asleep, just, I don't know, couldn't get it all together. It's going to be one of those rough days. But shaved with some Woodbridge, some Deluxe Shaving Cream Woodbridge, my Samog brush, one of my Samog brushes, and my Mercure Bakelite, only because it had a fairly fresh blade in it, and I didn't have time to pick another one, and so I just kind of grabbed what I had and proceeded to do a quick 3-pass shave, no touch-up, and just get out the house. Sometimes that happens, you know. It's times like that where it's just, I don't know. I can understand the marketing, you know, when you don't have the, you know, you don't have the time, you don't have the ability, the extra luxury of, you know, having a shave, and so grab the can, grab the disposable, and you know, quickly shave and be done with it. Yeah, I can understand the marketing. You know, if the marketing has also convinced you, for example, to stay up at all hours of the night because that's when your social life or your hobbies are supposed to happen, and you know, you got things to do with your kids and your spouse and blah blah blah. You don't get to bed on time, and you know. You know, I'm just reflecting in the back of my mind, only because the front of my mind is so foggy, that, you know, if I was burning the candle at both ends and felt like this all the time, wow, if I had to wake up like this every morning, I don't think I would get as much enjoyment out of shaving as I do now, even if I wet shaved. It's just, I mean, you're standing there in front of the mirror and you're concentrating on breathing, concentrating on staying awake and not just folding like a you know, like the proverbial cheap suit and falling asleep on the floor right there in the bathroom. Yeah, like that. So I can understand. It was interesting. Like I said, I don't do this often. I usually get plenty of sleep and don't have any problems, and you know, oh well. It's just one of those things. It's called life, and sometimes it throws you a curveball, and you know, luckily my curveballs aren't just way wide of the plate. They're just, you know, a little bit over. So not that big a deal, but it was an interesting reflection in that, yeah, I shaved. Don't really remember it. I mean, other than the fact that I nicked myself one down at the Adam's apple. I was like, well, okay. Again, brushing, you know, it's just one of those things. Oh, well, it happens to all of us. And sometimes in cases like that, you gotta say, well, okay, that's why it happened. I understand that. Now, let's get on with life and try to do better tomorrow. It's that does bring up an interesting point. Just out of curiosity, you know, ask yourself this, and I have my a guy I know is working for somebody and telling me stories of on the job. And the thing that I am, I don't know, curious about is that he's describing all these little problems that are getting in the way of the job. But he never describes any solutions to those problems. So what ends up happening is that the problems persist and continue, and they're known problems and they're known issues, and as guys come and go, they basically run into the same problems and everything, and it's kind of a running joke. And I'm thinking to myself, how much time and effort and energy is wasted because of those problems, and how much could you save if you took a moment? Now, I understand when you're in the middle of dealing with the problem, it's like, it's almost like crisis management. It's very, very reactive, and that's the way it is. But at the end of it, shouldn't you kind of take a step back and look around and say, okay, what just happened? And is there anything that can be done to prevent it from happening again? For example, I could only find one razor this morning, okay, that had a blade in it. So, is the solution to that, the night before, put out a razor with a blade that I want to use in the morning, since I have the time and I'm not rushed? Is that the solution? There are obviously many ways of skinning the cat, but the question is, do you even look? And at least in listening to this guy, the folks that he works with don't take the occasion to even look. And so what you end up with is a situation where what you have is what you get. It never gets any better because you don't take the time to try to make it better. And again, I understand, it's difficult sometimes to take that 20 or 30,000 foot view when you're right in the middle of the trenches fighting the dragon. I get that. But sometimes, it's, I don't know, it's just one of those things. I look around and I know it's part of my training and what I've done, and I understand that, but sometimes you just gotta stop and take a look around and say, hey, what can we do? I don't know. It was just one of those curiosities that just kind of struck me when I thought to myself that, well, it wasn't real good this morning. And I started thinking, well, what can I do to improve it? Of course, the first thing is get plenty of sleep. Go to bed at a decent hour. Yeah. Oh, well, it happens. So be it. It's called life. So I've noticed lately, I'm a fan of Kickstarter, and I frequent Kickstarter a lot. I purchase a few things from them, and I star a lot of stuff to see how it goes and to kind of track its progress. And what I've noticed is that it seems that there was a lot of people that jumped on the razor bandwagon, and there was a flood, really, of razor-related or shaving-related Kickstarters. And that seems to have died down. And it's interesting because as you look, there was a couple of original ideas, and then it was kind of like, okay, let's go with the same old, and kind of package it a little bit differently. And I'm sorry, that's, to me anyhow, that's what we're trying to get away from, Gillette is the one that packages things a little bit differently and tries to sell it for more. It's kind of like the new and improved cereal. It's got less, but the box is bigger. It's okay though. Nobody will notice. But it was an interesting phenomena because there was like this explosion, and then it kind of fades away a little bit. It's not as I think there's one on there right now, but it's kind of a repackage of it almost looks like a standard with a nice stand and everything else, and that's kind of what is sitting there. So, okay. But it is curious. It is interesting. It's almost like no one is thinking, well, to a certain extent, outside of the box to create anything new. And the other thing that's kind of curious is that The people who have done those Kickstarters have done double-edged, and they have done a single-edged with the feather, the long feather blade that's really designed for a shavette. But nobody's done anything, and again, it amazes me, no one's done anything with the old standard single-edged razor, which is really rather curious, because they're very stiff, and they give a great shave. One of the reasons that the Cobra and the Mongoose give such a wonderful shave is that they trap the blade and hold it firmly, and it is because of that, it's a very stiff edge, and gives a great shave because of it. But the thing is that a single-edged razor, by its very nature, in the traditional single-edged package, is a rather stiff blade to begin with, and gives a pretty good shave. But anyhow, it is just curious. It is just amazing. I mean, if I had the time, I would probably design something like the old, I don't know, maybe the Gem, the Gem series. And if I could figure out how to do it, I'd make an exact replica of a Damascene, just because those things are fabulous. I mean, just absolutely fabulous shavers. And the thing is that if you could figure out how to do it, it wouldn't take a lot, because they're stamped. They're stamped steel. Stamping is a whole lot less expensive than machining. You cut the piece of metal, you stamp it in a die, you put it in like a vibrating buffer, and it's got little beads in it, and they'll knock down the edges and stuff and make it relatively smooth, and then you assemble it. I mean, it's pretty easy from a manufacturing standpoint. That's why, back in the day, remember the Chinese toys that were stamped tin, put together with the tabs? Well, there's a reason that they did it. It's cheap. It's fast. It's cheap. Like, take a piece of painted tin and stamp it out, and it cuts and molds all in one process, and boom, you're done. So, yeah, it's just curious. It's one of those things where you kind of look at it and go, why? Why not? I mean, it's not a bad thing. I mean, you can still get the blades, and they shave great. It's just one of those curiosity things.
Guys, do you want to get rid of that stubble?
Ouch! When are you going to shave?
If so, your search is over. TheShaveMercantile.com is your source for quality wet shaving supplies. Now you can order your favorite soaps, blades, razors, aftershaves, and more, all from one place. The Shave Mercantile is American-owned, taking pride in providing you with quality customer service. Check out our selection today at TheShaveMercantile.com. TheShaveMercantile.com, your source for quality wet shaving supplies.
So I don't know what's going on today, but I'll tell you what. I have been just, exhausted. I thought I slept well, but I have been just exhausted. Not really stressing about anything at work, no deadlines coming up or anything like that, so that ought to be, reasonable. That shouldn't be causing me any issues, but for some reason, just all day today, I have been just absolutely exhausted, to the point where, this morning, when I would normally talk about the shave of the day, I didn't. I just wasn't feeling it. But it is this afternoon, and I'm on my way home, so let's talk about the shave of the day today. Okay, so the shave of the day today, I have a growing fondness. And that's the only way I can explain it, is that it is, in fact, growing. I have a growing fondness for LPV. And I'll be honest, when I first used it, I was not, I don't know, everybody was giving it rave reviews for the scent. Now, the performance is just fabulous. It's a Katie's Bubbles, standard. It's got great performance. It lathers so easily, and it's just good stuff. So, if you're looking for a soap, Katie's Bubbles, you can't go wrong. It's like a lot of the artisan soaps nowadays. You really have a hard time picking a bad one, which is a testament to the quality that we're able to get. It just amazes me. It absolutely amazes me. So anyhow, on to the shave. Well, at least the scent, anyhow. I'd always been kind of, okay. But one thing that I've noticed with LPV that is it's not quite the same as just about every other soap that I've used. I can go just about 6 hours, without an aftershave after shaving with LPV, and I will still catch whiffs of LPV. Just very faint, mild whiffs. And it is actually very, very pleasing. It's kind of this constant reminder that, hey, I'm a wet shaver, and I happened to shave this morning, and it's kind of nice. So anyhow, I bloomed the soap. I just wanted to see what kind of difference that makes, and it does. It didn't really, to me, okay, and this is me. It doesn't necessarily make a difference in scent, not significantly enough for me to tell anyhow. But remember, my nose is just pitiful, so take that with a grain of salt. But what it does do is it allows me to easily and quickly load more product onto the brush, which means I can lather a thicker lather, or sometimes it's just a little bit easier, it's a little bit faster. So, that's something that might help you speed things up. Now, using my boar brush, of course, and I've got badger brushes and synthetics and everything, but I'll tell you, I keep going back to the boar. It's just, I don't know, just something about it. It's a 1305. My other one's an 830, and I think there's like a 630 or something that's like a mix of grades. And they say those are a little bit scrubbier, and I don't know. I don't know if I'd get one, but I mean the price point's okay. But although I must say I'm interested in the in some of the synthetics that are out there. Like Fine came out with a brush, and I'm interested in getting my hands on one of those just to see what it is. Anyhow, back to the shave. I keep getting sidetracked. I'm tired, okay? So, 1305, lathering up the LPV in ye old salsa bowl, and of course it just provides a beautiful, thick, yogurt-like lather. Slather that on my face, and it's really nice, and I just, reach for the first thing that catches my eye / heart, and that happens to be my little case straight razor, and proceed to do a quick 3-pass shave with the straight, and then touch up with a double-edged. Double-edged this morning that I used was the Bakelite, again, because that's the one that's got the blade in it right now. I've got to change that. But it does, and it was a good shave. I enjoy the fact that I can shave with a straight razor in the morning quickly and efficiently, and still kind of clean up my neck quickly and efficiently with a double edge. It just seems to be a winning combination for me, and realistically, no real extra time. Maybe a minute or two, with stropping on both sides. I mean, just very, very quick and easy and nice. But the shave quality is just so much superior with less razor burn. I get, and again, I don't know why, but I get less razor burn with a straight than I do with even a double edge. And for a closer shave, I mean, I can get a close shave with a double edge, but if I wanted to get as close as a straight, there is an increasing possibility of razor burn, whereas with the straight, I don't seem to have that problem at all. So it's just one of those things. I didn't use any aftershave, again, just because I was looking for that LPV scent just to find out, well, how long it lasted. And it seemed to last about 6 hours. And after that, it kind of faded away into into the nether worlds, but you know, to get nice little hints of LPV, it's just amazing. So I don't know what we'll do next week, but this week has been very nice. I've done some Jardin d'Or and some LPV and some other stuff, and it's been pleasant. I have enjoyed it. Now, if I could just figure, even with all the coffee that I drink, I'm still just exhausted, and I don't know. I mean, I could go home and take a nap, but the problem is that then I wouldn't get to sleep, or potentially wouldn't get to sleep well tonight, and that would mess me up. So I don't know what it is. That's just, I don't know. Maybe I will go home and take a nap. It's good weather for it. But there you go. That's the shave of the day. Oh, so here's one that I never thought I'd run into. So I'm working out in the backyard, and one of the things that we're doing is cleaning up some brush, and I got the old lawnmower going, and my son went to put gas in the old lawnmower before he brought it down. Okay, fair enough. Thank you very much. It was a nice gesture and all. But when he did that, he did not put the plastic gas can back underneath the screen porch. And the screen porch has some lattice work on it and everything else, which keeps it somewhat protected. It gets a little breeze in there and keeps it somewhat protected, and it's kind of cool. And so I don't have to worry about the gas cans getting overheated or, you know, anything like that. Now, so the gas can that I have is one of these carb-compliant gas cans, and of course, it's the only blasted type you can find anymore, which just irritates the snot out of me, because, again, it goes back to the whole thing, who gets to decide this crap? Who's the ones that get to determine, you know, what it is we have to deal with? I mean, if you go right now and buy a gas can, the darn thing's going to cost you $20 for a piece of crap chunk of plastic that, quite honestly, doesn't cost more than $1 or $2 to mold. So anybody that sits there and says, yes, this gas can is worth $20 ought to get their butt kicked, because there's no way that piece of molded plastic costs more than a couple dollars to make. Anyhow, so I got this carb-compliant gas can, and one of the things that makes it so-called carb-compliant is that it doesn't vent. It doesn't vent to anything. So he leaves the gas can out in the sun. Okay, fair enough. You know, it happens from time to time. Now, the gas can is red plastic, and it gets hot. And as it gets hot, the gas expands and the gas vaporizes. And next thing you know, the gas can is ballooned out about half again as much its original size. And because it's ballooned out, it has deformed the bottom, and it no longer sits flat. In fact, the thing rolls over sideways. And lo and behold, where is the one place where there is a pinhole in this gas can? Right in the middle of the seam of the handle, all the way at the top. So leaning over it's laying over on its side, getting heated by the sun, pressurized, and spraying vaporized gasoline out the pinhole in the top of the handle. Now, we get done doing what we're supposed to be doing out there, and I'm sitting out by the pool, catching a few rays, you know, just kind of relaxing, and I smell gas. And I'm thinking, okay, well, we just got done with the lawnmower. Maybe that's it. I still smell gas. It's been a while. Finally, I get up, and I thought, well, maybe there's a gas can that's leaking or something. I look over, and the thing's on its side, and I'm like, yep, it's probably leaking a little bit, no big deal. I walk over to it, and it is going, and gas vapors and gas liquid is spewing, well, just spraying out the top at the handle where this little pinhole is. Now, okay, talk about flippin' disgusted. The reason that gas cans cost so dang much is because of all the yahoos that have sued the gas can manufacturers because, oh my gosh, it leaked, or it did this, or it did that. Come on, it's a flippin' plastic gas can. You can't buy a metal one because, oh, well, they don't seal well enough. So now you got this, you can't buy a jerry can anymore, or not a real one, easily. They're $50. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. This stuff drives me crazy. Now, the other thing that's absolutely just irritates me is the military has these gas cans. They're made by Spectre, okay? And they're made up in Canada, I believe. And these things are thick plastic. And they are about bomb-proof. But as a civilian, you can't buy the things. I don't know why, but you can't buy them. You can't buy a bomb-proof gas can. You have to buy something that's a piece of garbage that will expand in the sunlight and heat, spew gas all over, and present a danger like nobody's business. And you got to have that kind of can because, well, it won't, it's sealed properly, and therefore the fumes won't leak out. Yeah, the fumes won't leak out, but when it lays in the sun, it'll spray pressurized gas all over the place. Yeah, they're worried about fumes. These people are idiots. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, it drives me insane. And again, it's not one of these things where they're giving you the best product that they know how to give you. They're giving you something that they can sell, and they can sell for a profit. Like I said, there's no way on God's green earth that a gas can, with all of its plastic parts and everything else, costs more than about $2 to $3 to make. Even with the spout, that is an absolute abomination. Try filling a gas can with one person and two hands with one of those things. It's darn near impossible. And of course, you end up spilling gas all over the place, but, oh well, it's good for the environment. Baloney, it's good for the environment. We're wasting more gas and spilling it all over the place and spraying it and everything else than we're using in the dang motors. It's crazy. It is insane. And yet somebody, somewhere, has made a rule. Somebody else has decided, not for your benefit, not for my benefit, but so somebody can either feel good or make a profit. It's maddening. It's absolutely maddening. And when you look around, there are so many instances of this kind of garbage that goes on. It is absolutely insane. And, people often wonder, why is there so much, anger and road rage and all this? Well, if you have to walk around and you see these kind of things all the time, you'd be pissed 24/7. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Anyhow, I just wanted to tell you about that because if you've got one of these gas cans, first off, keep it in a well-ventilated area away from open flames and everything else. That's kind of a known entity. But, when it gets heated up in the sun, especially the ones that seal properly, the pressure is going to do something, okay? When the gas vaporizes and it pressurizes the whole can, the can is going to react. So the can is either going to balloon out and not sit flat and everything else or something. It's going to happen. It's called physics. It's just, oh goodness. I'll tell you what. I would really like to get my hands on some of the military-grade, high-density plastic gas cans. Some honest-to-God gas cans. I don't mind I don't mind if they're big mouth, big spout or big mouth cans. I can use a funnel. You won't spill with a funnel. It's just, drives me crazy. Something as simple as a gas can. Somehow, we as a population have screwed up something as simple as a plastic container. Think about that for a minute. We have messed up a plastic container. How silly as a population do you have to be to screw that up? Jeez. It's amazing they allow us to even buy razor blades. You realize that, of course. Those things are sharp. They're dangerous. Somebody might get cut. I'm sure somebody somewhere has probably introduced legislation to outlaw the things and get rid of straight razors. And, Lord knows a knife over 2 inches is going to kill somebody automatically, just like a firearm that is sitting in a shelf somewhere. Well, you can't get close to it because it'll jump up and kill you. That's just, we've gone nuts. Oh, well. There you go. How about that for a rant?
Well, that concludes this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have some suggestions or would like a topic covered, drop me an email at BrushnSoapnBlade@gmail.com or give me a call at 864-372-6234 or contact us on Twitter at Brush and Blade. You can also visit us at our blog, BrushnSoapnBlade.wordpress.com. As always, we're available on iTunes and Stitcher.
Episode 31, the Photon Podcast, Boy Scouts of America, amateur radio, and more coming up.
AmateurRadio15.com presents Photon, the other ham radio podcast.
It is episode number 31, the Photon Podcast. I am your host, Kel Nelson. My call is Kilo 4 Charlie Delta November. And just want to give a great big Southern shout out. Thank you very much for tuning in to another program. All right, guys. So Rick is an amateur radio operator. We're going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. But at the same time, well, probably not at exactly the same time, but he is also a podcaster who podcasts about none other than wet shaving.